All right, so today I want to go over the conundrum that is the Packers wide receiver room. Hello everyone, your host Bass here. So today I wanted to go over the wide receiver room of the Green Bay Packers because I think it's a lot better than most think to seem it is, and I understand why people would be annoyed that the Packers didn't draft a wide receiver, but I'm on the boat with being okay with it. And let me please explain why. So before I get all these hate comments, oh, they should have drafted a wide receiver. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to go through every single one that's on the roster and basically explain my outlook on them and go from there. Alright, so, like I said, I believe in the guys the Packers have. Firstly, we have Davante Adams. Not really much to say about him. Top 3 receiver in the league, in my opinion. Best route runner in the league. No worry with him. It sucks he missed 4 games last year with a turf toe. I think he would have had an even better season than he already did. I could see him topping 1,200 yards this year. No problem. As long as he doesn't get hurt, knock on wood. Yeah. So I good things coming for Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers. Next up, we have Allen Lazard, or Alien Lizard, many people like to call him. Last year, he had 52 targets, 35 receptions, 477 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think this year he should almost double that. I have a high praise for Allen Lazard. I think this guy comes in, day out, works his ass off, and I could see him making a big jump. He came into the league pretty much as a tight end frame. He was a bigger dude, slimmed down, transitioned to wide receiver, and has been working his ass off for the Packers ever since he's been here. Started on the practice squad, worked his ranks up, made the team last year, got into starting position, got a lot of targets, and ended up with a 500-yard season, which isn't bad for a guy like him that didn't get much volume in the beginning of the year. So I could see him almost doubling that. Now, I don't think he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver just yet, but I could see him topping around 750, 800 yards, and maybe like 5 touchdowns. You got to realize with people like Geronimo Allison gone and Jimmy Graham, those guys were target vultures, especially Geronimo Allison. I feel like half the time he got a 2-yard out pass, and 50% of the time he fumbled it or didn't catch it. Or Geronimo Allison was a weird, inconsistent receiver. I loved him at times. I hope he does well with Detroit, I guess, but I'm happy he's gone. I think there's a lot better talent on this roster with a higher ceiling, and they were getting kind of choked out by Geronimo Allison's snaps. So, Allen Lazard, I see him making a big jump. I'm excited for him. Next up on the list was the signing they made this offseason, was Devin Funchess. So, I made a highlight video on him if you haven't seen. If you want to go watch that. I watched a lot of film on this guy, the good, the bad, and what I noticed most was the lack of consistency via Cam Newton. And a lot of people may know this. Cam Newton, just not an accurate guy, never really has been. Great player, surprised he's not on a team right now. Former MVP, great player, awesome guy. But the inconsistency in his accuracy is what killed him, and I think that's part of the reason, that and his injuries is part of the reason why he's not on a team today. Funchess had his best year when Cam had one of his worst in terms of passing stats. So in that year, Cam Newton had 59.1% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions, and an 80.7 quarterback rating. Very below average. They went 11-5, but they ran the ball a ton with Cam Newton, with the running backs. They ran the ball a ton, and Funchess still put up, best receiver on the team, 840 yards, 8 touchdowns. The Panthers that year ran the ball only 11 less times than how many times they passed it. That's ridiculous. Now, it worked for them, that's fine, but just thinking about the actual numbers of that is absurd. So, I could see Devin Funchess coming in and contributing right away. He's pretty much a veteran at this point. I think he's 25, 26 years old. Been on a few teams. I could see this guy coming in, learning the system, getting the trust of Aaron early, being a good perimeter guy, or even in the slot in some circumstances, down the middle seam, pretty much what they wanted Jimmy Graham to do. I see this guy more physical than Jimmy Graham at this point in their career. Watching the film, he's a surprising route runner. A lot of people think he's bulky, can't turn, but a lot of the times I watched him on film, pretty decent routes. I've seen him run sharp out routes, beating Patrick Peterson a couple times. I've seen a lot of him, a lot of skinny posts with Devin Funchess. That's where he seemed to excel, in the middle of the field under skinny post scenarios. I could see him coming in and contributing day one, putting up a pretty decent season. So, Devin Funchess, hope he does good. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people think he's going to flop. I think he's a good receiver. All right, the fourth guy is very interesting. Reggie Bagleton. He was a receiver from the CFL. He was undrafted in the NFL and then went on to the CFL for 3 years. As of last year, this guy was top 3 in the CFL. Now, let me say, obviously the CFL has a lot less talent than the NFL does. You don't have as much as good cornerback talent. You don't have as much quarterback talent. So you got to factor that in as well. But this guy blew up in the CFL this last year. 102 receptions, 1,444 yards, and 10 touchdowns. This guy went off. This guy is a driven, motivated guy. He's a dark horse. He's the type of guy that you don't want to bet against, in my opinion. I think he could surprise a lot of people. He's talented. He's very motivated. This guy's going to come in and work his ass off. He just like Lazard, these are guys that come in from the practice squad or come in undrafted and they have everything to prove wrong. So everyone's always doubting them. And they come in with a chip on their shoulder. And a lot of the times, these guys turn into something great. Undrafted free agents, you can name dozens and dozens of them that are actually ended up being great careers or even Hall of Famers. So, not saying that's going to happen to Reggie Bagleton. I'm just saying, don't doubt this guy. He's a very driven, motivated guy. I could see him coming in and producing a pretty decent season. I don't see him jumping into like a number 2 role right away, but I could see him coming in and being a solid guy for depth. Next on the list is Equanimeous St. Brown, the name from a Key and Peele skit, it seems. Very unfortunate he got hurt last year. He had a decent rookie season, got a lot better during the end of the year. In the preseason last year, hurt his ankle, got put on IR, didn't see another down. I think it was a good idea to put him on IR, let him rest, let him learn, let him get to a full 100% rather than rush him in. Aaron loves this guy. He says it a lot in meetings or interviews, and Aaron really likes this guy. He, as a rookie, had 21 receptions and 328 yards, so nothing great, but really turned it up towards the end of the year in clutch scenarios. Aaron even had a quote about it. He said, "I'm excited about getting EQ back from his injury and seeing how he feels. He really made some great strides his rookie year, especially towards the end of the season, making plays for us and growing each week. He has a great approach to the game, and it'll be fun to see him healthy." I could see this guy being a really good slot receiver. He's, I think, 6'5", good speed for 6'5", knows how to create separation. And the one thing I noticed with him during his rookie year was he seemed to be on the same page as Aaron a lot, coming back to the ball and extended plays and all that. So I'm really excited to see him grow and hopefully flourish into what he seemed to be coming into during his rookie year. Next on the list, we have Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I'm just going to outright say it. This guy had a bad year. He seemed out of it the entire year, except for the beginning. He had a few good games, but he seemed out of it most of the year. He didn't seem too confident in himself. The guy just seemed out of place. I think he got caught in his own head and then ended up doing worse, and then sooner or later lost a lot of his snaps to guys like Alan Lazard, Jake Kumerow, all those types. He started decently well and then ended very bad. Just everyone was hyping him up so much. People were hyping him up to be the deep threat Aaron Rodgers always needed, the guy who's going to take the top off the defense to allow Davante Adams to have solid 1v1s. Never really happened. He had a few deep balls. A lot of the times him and Aaron seemed off page with deep balls. It didn't seem like he's either underthrow and overthrow. It just seemed off. Something seemed off with that connection. So last year he had 26 receptions, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, so just under 500 yards. I think with him, it's a make or break year. I think it could be a surprise cut come off season if he doesn't put it all together with training camp. I don't think he's going to get cut. I think he has at least one more year to prove, but if he doesn't do much this year, I don't think he's going to be a Green Bay Packer much longer. I think he could fizzle off, maybe jump on another team here or there, jump on a practice squad here or there if he's eligible. But MVS, I'm praying for you. I hope you turn it around. But I'm at this rate, I have Equanimeous St. Brown above you. All right, at the 6th spot, we have Jake, touchdown, Jesus, Wisconsin, Whitewater, Kumerow. This guy's a fan favorite, and rightfully so. He's a character. Went to college in Wisconsin. He's going to be battling for the 6th spot, to put the long story short. He's going to be battling for a 6th spot if the Packers even go into the season with 6 receivers. I don't know if they're going to. It seems to be they're leaning towards more of a power run scheme, but if they carry 6 receivers, he's going to be battling with Bagleton, MVS, and himself. Last year, 12 receptions, 219 yards, and a touchdown. He doesn't get much volume. This is the type of guy who comes in when there's injuries or people not playing well and just kind of gets a few snaps here and there, makes a few good plays here and there, but never really has the chance to explode or never really has exploded. Came in undrafted. I think he was on the Bengals practice squad for a year or two. I just think there's a lot of better, younger talent on this roster with higher ceilings than him. I think he's 26, 27 years old now. I don't think there's much crazy ceiling for this guy. He could be a good bottom roster guy, good depth guy, maybe good special team guy, but I don't see him ever reaching the potential that a lot of people think of a tried and true number 2 receiver, Aaron Rodgers, next Jordy Nelson type receiver. It's just not going to happen. I'm kind of off that hype train. It's almost as bad as the Jeff Janis one. But I even had a campaign for the guy with shirts, with a Touchdown Jesus shirt. If any of you bought those, still have mine. I love the guy. I hope he makes the roster, but I just don't have crazy high hopes for him. The next 2 guys are pretty much going to be practice squad guys. We have Malik Taylor, who was on the practice squad last year. 99% sure he's going to stay there. Nothing crazy interesting about the guy. After him, a little bit interesting, Darrell Stewart from Michigan State, undrafted, didn't get drafted this year. Packers picked him up. A lot of people were like, oh, they finally got a receiver, but, undrafted. He could be a very, very, very extreme dark horse. I don't see it happening, but if there's anyone to be an extreme, very, very, very dark horse, it would be him. He could jump up the ranks, surprisingly. His last year in Michigan State was his best year receiving-wise. 49 receptions, 697 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Pretty good year. 4 years at Michigan State. I think his best fit's slot and kind of a gadget guy. He's kind of built like, if you think Ty Montgomery or a poor man's Randall Cobb. Heavier dude. Could end up being like a backfield type of receiver, like a receiving back, if injuries happen or whatnot. If Tyler Ervin gets hurt or a surprise cut, he kind of reminds me of a Tyler Ervin, just less speed. I think Tyler Ervin's our guy when it comes to that in terms of sweeps and jet motions and even passing to him. But who knows? He's like the same type of guy. He's good with run after the catch, that sort of thing. Good bet. He lands on practice squad. That's my bet, and I'm sticking to it. So overall, I feel good about this group. I think they're very underrated. I think a lot of fans around the NFL would rank them in the bottom 3 in terms of wide receiver group, and I understand. Like I said, I might just be drinking the Kool-Aid, but I think they could prove a lot of people wrong. I think they have a lot of undermined talent. They have a lot of high ceilings, a lot of young guys that could come out and prove themselves, and also a lot of guys that could just fizzle off and never be heard from again. Jumping back to the draft, a lot of people were very upset with the Packers not drafting a wide receiver, and I understand. I understand it. I'm not on the same boat. I was happy with them the way they went in the draft. A lot of people weren't. I was. I'm not going to get into the draft just yet, just mainly talking about receivers right now. I think next year's draft class could be even better at wide receiver. A lot of scouts are saying so. Justin Ross sadly had that neck injury diagnosed within the last week. I hope he recovers. I hope he can play again. Who knows, though? His career could be over. He's definitely missing this year. He could enter the combine after this year. Who knows? I think he's number 2 next to Jamar Chase in this talented upcoming wide receiver class. I think Jamar Chase could be one of the most talented receivers I've seen in the past 5, 6, 7 years in terms of prospect. And so I'm okay with the Packers not drafting a receiver this year because they have a lot of young talent that has yet to be really exposed that they need to learn more about. And I think they'll have a better grip on their full wide receiver room next year. And I think although this last class was full of talent. I think only a handful of them fit the Packers scheme. And a lot of them were gone by the time the Packers were drafting or would have been an extreme reach. So I'm okay with how they drafted. I'm okay with them not taking a receiver. I think maybe, if at anything, I would have maybe liked a 4th or 5th round receiver. But once Justin Jefferson went off the board, I was kind of on board with them doing anything else. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I just wanted to go over this Packers wide receiver room and explain my thoughts on it. I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Who do you think is going to be the number 2 receiver? And then what do you think the top 6 receivers will be making the Packers roster? So on that note, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Go Pack!